Angela Merkel's image throughout her election campaign was as Germany's mum or Mutti. But now that voters have forced a divorce from her Social Democrat partner, it may be that Mutti will have to deal out some tough love. But will she be able to? There are those who think that her time in the Grand Coalition with the SPD has made her move from the right to the centre ground to court popularity.
Merkel has become a social democrat, more or less. Yeah, she's very much like an SPD politician. I don't see any difference in the end. Since 1 or 2 years, she's the number one in terms of popularity, and my impression is she really likes it. She likes to be mother of the nation, yeah, and this is her first priority, to keep that.
Since she realized that the only votes she can win are somewhere in the middle, which means she has to go more to the social wing. The closer the elections are, the more in the middle you have to go, and the person who is really in the middle win the elections, and this is what Ms. Merkel did.
Und das ist gut.
Mrs. Merkel's Christian Democrats' share of the vote was the lowest in 60 years. Her Black Flag Party has chosen to team up with Guido Westerwelle's Liberal Free Democrats, who had their best result ever. Yellow is their colour, but there's nothing cowardly about the Liberals' determination to reform the tax system and the welfare state.
I think the Liberals are going to give Mrs. Merkel a hard time. They will press for a policy which she hasn't embraced in recent years. She has social democratized the Conservative Party.
The FDP leader has called the unions a plague on our country and wants to hammer them into shape. IG Metall is the world's biggest trades union with 2.6 million members in Germany. They're not happy with the result.
From the union's point of view, black and yellow is the worst of all possible coalitions. But of course we'll work together with the new government. But there will be a lot of conflict.
German business, however, is very happy with the new coalition. Apart from tax cuts, it's also hoping the new coalition will target something called Kündigungsschutz, a policy which makes it virtually impossible to fire a worker.
There is still the CDU part, which is more moderate, but we from the unions still see the danger.
Angela Merkel's style of the past 4 years has been consensus at any cost. But recently, perhaps mindful of the public vote, she uncharacteristically stuck her neck out over Opel. In the run-up to the general election, she and her Grand Coalition partner forced through a deal to sell over half of the European arm of the bankrupt US giant General Motors to a consortium consisting of Magna, an Austro-Canadian auto parts firm, and Sberbank, Russia's largest retail bank. It was backed by $6.5 billion of taxpayers' money, something EU competition commissioners are not happy about.
The Magna scheme does secure the future for Opel for the moment, but no one is yet sure how many of the 25,000 jobs will go. What is sure is that there's overcapacity in the European car market, and the cash for clunkers or old car schemes are all coming to an end soon.
Auto production at the Rüsselsheim plant goes back to 1899. And indeed, the plant has seen some short-term gains with healthy orders for the Insignia. But the site as a whole has been added to piecemeal over the years, and it's now not the lean production machine it should be for the modern age. The Magna deal is thought to defy industrial logic.
Politicians thought about politically favorable solutions rather than thinking about, let's say, economically viable strategies for sorting out the mess at Opel. And sooner or later, I think, when the new government is taking power, I could very well again imagine that the whole issue becomes revisited. It
was first the unions that jumped on the Magna idea. I think yes. I think the Social Democrats stole it from the unions, but these parties are very close always. And then Merkel stole it from the Social Democrats. The whole Magna deal is not a long-term solution, I fear. So in next year, and in 2 years and 3 years, we have the same discussion again. And finally, I think Opel will lose half of its jobs, at least.
My personal opinion is that that the company is too small in the global automotive sector. So I think the best would be a merger with somebody who wants to reach somewhere, wants to get some German engineering quality and access to the European market. For example, for somebody from Asia.
Whatever happens, unemployment is set to rise in Germany. Short-time, temporary working schemes will come to an end next year, and that'll put further pressure on the federal budget, giving the new government less room to manoeuvre for promised tax cuts.
I think with this huge deficit, the finance minister probably comes from the FDP. The FDP principally wants it, but I think as soon as he sits at this special table, he will realize that this to take the risk, cutting taxes and having higher revenues than in 2-3 years is just too big a risk.
What about the tax cuts which they are promising?
Ha ha ha.
But the mood among the German people is relatively positive. Germany came out of recession in the second quarter, and there are signs that their vital overseas markets may be picking up. The electorate liked Mrs. Merkel's calm handling of the world economic crisis as it affected Germany.
They have some good ideas and hope that they will agree on certain points to give some new impulses to the economy.
Mrs. Merkel's caution may put a dent in her new partner's immediate ambitions for liberal reforms. She's promised both economic sense and political balance. But events outside Germany, namely how well the countries it exports to recover, may well be the determining factor in how bold Mutti can be in her new marriage.